If you're a business owner, you'd likely want your team to complete their work in the same manner each time. And if you have bookkeepers on your staff, you'd want them to code transactions correctly across all of your staff. Now, let's say it's time to file tax returns for the year, and a senior accountant on your team opens a Xero file to take a look. Now, throughout the year, your team has already processed all the transactions. Nothing looks obviously wrong at a glance, and everything seems to be reconciled correctly. But when you look a bit more closely, or you start comparing multiple client files, you realize that some of the purchases are coded incorrectly or inconsistently, depending on which staff member happened to be touching them that week. Now, take a purchase from Officeworks. Early in the month, you might see a small purchase coded against office supplies, which is reasonable for a $15 purchase of new whiteboard markers. But you find that just 2 weeks later, a $3,000 purchase from Officeworks was also coded as office supplies. But when you look a bit more closely, this included 2 laptop purchases. That transaction itself should have been coded against equipment purchases instead, and those assets should have been correctly recorded. But as you keep looking closer, you realize that it wasn't just Officeworks, and it wasn't just this one client. A handful of entries throughout your files are coded incorrectly or inconsistently. Some of them are missing supporting documents such as receipts, which have been missing for weeks or even months. Bunnings, Woolies, BP, 7-Eleven. So there's a bit of rework that has to be done. You have to reopen files, flag missing receipts, unify any inconsistent coding, and you have to work through everything one at a time. And by the time all of that is done, the review has taken up most of an afternoon for that single client. Now add in the time spent chasing up receipts from months ago through email, and the files don't end up being finalized by the time that they're supposed to go out. Mind you, the client doesn't see any of this. From where they're sitting, you delivered days late with a weak or a dubious excuse. Now the trouble is, this isn't the only client, and this won't be the last time that this happens. So that leaves us with one real question. You probably already have a process for this. And if it's not documented, you've given feedback to your team multiple times. And your business has a coding policy that describes exactly how transactions like this should be handled. So why do problems like this keep happening, and what can we do to stop it from recurring in the future? But there's also another path we can take that involves leveraging AI to augment and amplify your team. Through this new technology, we can both improve the quality and ensure the consistency of our team's work. Now, the great thing about having this AI assistant is that we ensure it includes all the accounting rules we want our bookkeepers to follow, as well as any relevant SOPs and documents. And this includes how recurring vendors are treated, what counts as equipment versus supplies, when we want to ask our clients for receipts, and any other rules that you might want your bookkeepers to follow. So essentially, we move the burden of quality control from this bottleneck and then distribute it more fairly throughout the system. We bring it as close to real time as possible. Basically, using the system, bookkeepers can get real-time feedback on how their work is doing. After doing a first pass on a client Xero file, the bookkeeper can ask the assistant to review their work and give feedback. It can identify safe transactions, those that might need a bit more review, and those that are questionable, and then compare that with the bookkeeper's work that's just happened. Now, I want to be clear that nothing in this system posts to Xero automatically. The AI doesn't approve itself. Every suggestion always stays as a suggestion until a person, a human, which is the owner, the bookkeeper, the senior reviewer, makes a call. What changes really is how much of that decision-making load falls on any one person inside that business system. So now that I've described how that system works, how does it actually look like in practice? And how easy is it to set up and use for your team? Now, to show you how this works, I'm going to use ChatGPT's Codex as my AI assistant, which I've prepared with an AI operating system that's fit for an accounting business. After setting up the system, I can start my day as a bookkeeper by importing last month's transactions into a client file. This pulls data from Xero to my local machine, which gives me a complete and accurate view of the transactions when compared to Xero. Now that we have those transactions, I can ask it to start a review. And this is where our chart of accounts and our SOPs and our transaction coding rules are all applied to all of the bank transactions. The assistant makes a first pass and uses all the documents we've prepared to determine how much attention each of these transaction lines need. Is it safe? Does it need a review? Or is this a questionable transaction? Now, this is already a great improvement over the previous system we were using. Before, basically we gave each transaction the same cursory 3-second look. Now we can kind of spend a bit more time and focus on the transactions that require our human review. And for this system, we've also added a lightweight UI that lets the bookkeeper quickly review all the transactions inside the system. Our output opens within a summary tab, which organization, which period, how many transactions came in, how many are sitting in the review queue, this and that. And what the split looks like across those three categories. On the left is our AI assistant's first pass, which is the transaction details, its confidence level, the review status, whether it's flagged as needing supporting documents, and the reasoning behind that decision. On the right is a place where you can decide what to do. Do you want to approve, reject, ask for more information, code it differently, or maybe leave a note? Now, the great thing about this is that these rules are driven directly from your existing business rules and historical information. As we do this process, we watch for any patterns. If we keep correcting a single vendor or a single transaction type over and over again, the system will flag that as a candidate for future rule. Then you can decide whether or not to fold it into your existing SOP or you want to do something else with it. So this system improves alongside your SOPs the longer that you run it, and this becomes a form of equity within your business. But currently, what I've shown is just a small slice of what a bookkeeper does on a day-to-day basis. How else can the system support a bookkeeper who needs to request receipts or investigate suspicious transactions? Well, the great thing about having an AI operating system for your business is that it's highly extensible, meaning you can add any and all workflows that you use inside your business. For example, in this system, after we've completed that initial review, as the bookkeeper, I can easily compile all of the transactions that I feel are missing receipts and draft an email to the client. This is going to use our existing SOPs, email templates, and email connections to create a first draft directly in my Gmail or Outlook as a draft. Then I can read that draft email at any time, decide whether it needs any changes, and then send it out myself. So in this workflow, we basically intentionally introduce a human quality gate because the AI assistant doesn't have the permissions and the responsibility required in order to send emails directly to clients, and I advise against this. Where previously, this flow would require an hour to compile the transactions, draft the email, clean it up, and send it out, that initial first draft email is now done in just about 5 minutes. Now, as the bookkeeper, I only need to review and edit that email before I send it out. Then, once the client responds with any receipts that come in via email from the client, which could come in as images or PDFs, I can lean on my AI assistant again to help me assign those files to the right transactions in Xero. I can basically feed it a whole folder of receipts or an email, and it's going to propose a match for each one of those files. It's going to do its best to match dates, vendors, and amounts confidently. And when it's hard to figure out where a receipt belongs, it's flagged as a low confidence file. And as the bookkeeper, I can use my own judgment to determine where it goes, or I can draft a follow-up email for the client. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick demo. Today, we talked about how businesses can get bottlenecked when quality control is left to a few senior staff members. After migrating to an AI operating system, quality control can run closer to real time alongside the day-to-day work that your individual contributors do. And the kind of mismatch that used to take up weeks for your senior staff now gets caught a long time before it ever reaches that point. And I want to remind everyone that every single part of this process remains under our control. So if you're running a bookkeeping practice or you're a business owner that's tired of chasing your own paperwork every single quarter, this is what work can look like for you and your team. So if this is something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to us directly. My team and I help small to medium-sized business owners overhaul their businesses to become more AI native. I'm Avi Santoso, and I'll see you in the next video.